Okay, a slightly different kind of video this time. This is a puzzle. What is the best play to make here? This comes from a game I was watching, well, as I record this, it was last night. And yeah, we get to this point in the game. This is our deck. We don't have anything on the mat. This is what's in the trash. Here's the kingdom in case you want to see what the cards do. Um, so first of all, we can figure out what our opponent's deck is. Our opponent's deck is 4 pixies, 1 hideout, that's 5 cards, and then King's Court, Wine Merchant, Wine Merchant, Wine Merchant. And we should note that the 5 boons that are gone right now are mountains, winds, suns, skies, and flames. So that's the trash one, the discard for gold one, the look at your top and do the thing one, the +2, discard 2 one, and the silvers one. That means that left are Earth's Gift, which doesn't do anything because nobody has any treasures, unless somebody can get treasures before it might do something. There's Field's Gift, there's Forest's Gift, Moon's Gift, River's Gift, Sea's Gift, and Swamp's Gift. Those are the 7 boons that are remaining. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to pause your videos now, figure out what you want to do, what you think the best play is. Okay, hopefully you've paused. If you haven't paused, please pause now because I'm about to go into what I think the solution is. Well, let's first of all look at some things that I don't think work. First of all, if we king, wine merchant, wine merchant, wine merchant, that makes 36 money and 10 buys. 36 money and 10 buys is not enough to end the game right now. The only way we could end the game right now is if we play this pixie and we get Forest's Gift. Then if we go King's Court, Wine Merchant, Wine Merchant, Wine Merchant, we have 38 money and we have, most importantly, 12 buys. We could empty the wine merchants and the estates, which take 12 buys, which is why Forest is important, and they take 36 money. We would have a win if we did that. However, there's 7 boons left, and so you're only 1/7 to hit the right pixie boon. I don't think that's a great play. So alternatively, if we have 36 money and 10 buys, we could go like King's Court, Wine Merchant, Hamlet, Inn. That's 14, 19, 21, 26 money. We could even get a province in that case. This is the line that I was thinking of. This is the line I was thinking of when I was watching the game last night. And yeah, in that case, we use the inn to seed ourselves with King's Court, Hamlet, and Wine Merchant as our starting hand. It's 14, 19, 24, 26, 34. Because we have 36 money, before we do that, we would play the Pixie, which would let us get that free 1/7 chance because we can't afford to spend any more money, so we might as well play the Pixie. We can't afford to buy save. This would give us a 4-point lead, and yeah, we'd be well set up to be able to empty piles and win the game next turn. I think this is a reasonable line, but I don't actually like this line because if our opponent is able to get Forest's Gift themselves, there's a 4/7 chance of that based on their 7 boons left. And they have 4 pixie plays potentially. I guess it's a little less than 4/7, but if they're able to do that and then go king, wine merchant, wine merchant, wine merchant, then they have 38 money and 12 buys. They could go wine merchant, wine merchant, wine merchant. That costs 15. They could get 8 estates. That costs 16 more. That's 31. And they could get a duchy. That costs 36. That's 12 buys. And 8 points beyond what they have now gets them to 12. And 3 points from the duchy gets them to 15. We would have, if we made this play, 1 province that gets us to 14, or that gets us to 12, plus the colony gets us to 14. So they have 15, we have 14. They would actually win the game if they were able to pull that off. And I think there's a reasonable chance that they would be able to do so. so I don't love that play. Um, we could take an estate instead of the hamlet or something, but that's not really going to help us because if we take the estate, then okay, they get fewer estates, but they have a little more money because they don't have to buy this last estate. They could get the province in that case. They're still going to outscore us, right? So I don't think that's a good way to go. I think what the best play um, is to do King's Court, Wine Merchant, Wine Merchant, Wine Merchant. End action, save this, get a King's Court, take a 2 provinces, and take a wine merchant and an inn. Now, this isn't quite as foolproof as I'd like, because on our next turn, first of all, our opponent definitely can't win the game immediately, right? The most they can get is 40 money if they get both money boons and 12 buys. 40 money uh, is enough to empty the duchies, but only the duchies. And if they empty all the duchies, they're not getting their wine merchants back. We should win kind of easily. So that's not a big concern. They could get 5 provinces. That would get them to 34 points. We have 20 points. So we would need province triple duchy. We should be able to do that, as we're about to see. That only costs 23 money, so we'd only need, in fact, King's Court, Wine Merchant, Wine Merchant, Wine Merchant. But here I think we should shuffle in King's Court and Inn. So the idea here is that we want to be able to, worst case, we can King's Court the Pixie, play the Inn, play any cantrips, including our other pixies, and then go King's Court, Wine Merchant, Wine Merchant, Wine Merchant. And that gets us 36 money and 10 buys again. Ideally, we would also be able to play the last Wine Merchant, which is pretty likely, but not guaranteed. That would get us 40 money and 11 buys, which would be enough to, say, empty the Wine Merchants and estates. Also, if we hit the right Pixie Boon, we can do that even without playing the last Wine Merchant. Also, if we only end up with 36 money and 9 buys, then like 4 provinces and an estate at this point would get us in good shape. So this is part of the other point, right? 4 provinces and 1 estate here would get us 24 money, or 24 more points. That gets us to 44, plus the estate gets us to 45. Our opponent can get 2 provinces, 8 duchies. That's 24, that's 28, that's 40. They would need a bunch of estates. It's going to take them multiple turns in order to be able to get that, right? It's going to take them like 3 turns, by which point we should be able to score just enough to get to the half VP mark here, which is not particularly high, right? There's 12 points plus the 40 points each, so that's 46 points is half VP. So if we get to 45, then all we need to do is be able to get an estate to get us to half VP, or 2 estates to get us all the way there. And in fact, instead of buying only 1 estate, we could buy 2 estates. If we go King's Court, Wine Merchant, Wine Merchant, Wine Merchant next turn, which is 36 money, that gets us to 4 more provinces plus 2 estates, so we would have 24, 44, 46 points. We can't lose at that point. Okay, if it's, as long as we don't play our hideout when we might have to trash an estate, at that point we probably won't win because it's gonna take us, well, we might still win depending on what pixie boons we get. We would need some kind of a money boon. We'd be out of money in our deck, so we'd have to get the wine merchants back. So at that point, it's really just all about finding the money boon. But we are guaranteed, if our opponent doesn't do anything to mess with our deck, to be able to at least King's Court, Wine Merchant, Wine Merchant, Wine Merchant by doing this, which is because we can King's Court a Pixie. So we've saved a Pixie, so we're going to have a 6-card hand. We can King's Court a Pixie. That gets us to a 7-card hand, even if we don't take any boons. Once we have a 7-card hand, um, once we have a 7-card hand, then what we can do is play our in. That gets us to a 6-card hand where we've seen also the in, right? So we have a 6-card hand at that point. Um, there's 3 bad cards in our deck, so it's province, province, and hideout. Once we have that hand, we can play all our cantrips, and then we should be able to, for sure, end up with a 5-card hand that has King's Court, King's Court, Wine Merchant, Wine Merchant, Wine Merchant. Worst case, we have to play our hideout, trashing a Wine Merchant. We still get to do King's Court, Wine Merchant, Wine Merchant, Wine Merchant, and for sure not lose the game. The only way that I believe our opponent can disrupt this would be to buy Noble Brigands. But I think if they're buying Noble Brigands, they're not doing so much with their turn. And if they're not doing so much with their turn, then I'm less concerned because they're not getting so many provinces. We can probably play with winning over a couple of turns. I don't think this is necessarily completely 100% to win the game, but we can't lose immediately, and I think we're very, very likely to win the game. And I'm not sure that we're not 100%, though it gets tricky with boons and playing on later. Anyway, this is what I think the best line is, but please let me know if you think there is a better line, if you've seen a hole in my logic here, to where our opponent might be able to do something better, or I'm not going to draw well enough. But I think this is the optimal way to play this turn. Now, in the actual game, I really can't blame the players because this is really in-depth, and I spent probably about 2 hours, like an hour lying awake in bed, and then more hours this morning because I apparently have a problem. But I really can't blame the opponents or the players for not playing this super precisely. In the game, they got Field's Gift. They didn't take Field's Gift. At this point, I think I would take Field's Gift. That'll give us 38 money. We could go with something pretty similar, in fact. Right? We could take this and go province, province, King's Court, Wine Merchant, Hamlet in, and then shuffle these in. And then that's basically the same thing. So I think they're actually in reasonable shape here. Also with the Hamlet, there's some chance that you might be able to do discardy for buy things. Also, if your opponent just doesn't draw well, you should be in good shape. Also, like if you start off with King's Court, then I think you have better options for just winning on the spot for sure. So all of these things contribute to making this play the one that I like. Anyway, they didn't take Field's Gift. They were playing kind of fast, just trying to get through their turn here. I need to undo further here. They didn't take Field's Gift. And what they did, I believe, was buy King's Court, Wine Merchant, Wine Merchant. And something, Hamlet in or something, which makes them really likely to win on their next turn. Unfortunately, they didn't get a next turn, as one of the Pixie Boons came off was draw, and then the opponent was able to empty Wine Merchants and Estates. Yeah, this is only 10 buys now that's necessary, so they were able to do that. So that didn't work out the best. If they only take one Wine Merchant, maybe this is okay. Because they actually need quite a good draw with pretty good Pixie Boons here. If you only take one Wine Merchant, right? If you go King's Court, Wine Merchant, and Hamlet, Duchy in, whatever, something like this, then your opponent needs to have the Forest's Gift and King, Wine Merchant, which isn't super likely to get together, but if they do that, they're going to win, which is why I don't like this. But this is like a reasonable play, something like this, where here you're going to win if you get another turn. Anyway, like I say, let me know if you have any questions, comments, if you want to see more of this, if you don't enjoy this at all, this kind of thing. I particularly like looking for forced wins that take multiple turns. I don't think this quite is that. The Noble Brigand stuff maybe throws a little bit of a monkey wrench in things, but I'm not really worried about that being a very good line from our opponent. I think it just maybe makes it not be quite 100% for us. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. And yeah, leave comments, leave questions, suggestions, improvements, etc.